All right, welcome to Sora. So it took me a few days to get in, but after it opened up on Monday and then they immediately kind of shut down logins by Thursday afternoon, I was able to get in. So that is pretty cool. And basically, I had my 10-year-old son sit down with me and play with it. We were both very excited about it after seeing the previews. And he enjoys, playing with the image generation and stuff like that as well. So we made a bunch of them to show you. By the way, just doing, generative AI stuff with kids is such a great way to just get them interested and involved and learning. I think it is very safe to say that this is going to be huge for their entire lives and careers and only getting, bigger and better. So to be able to say like, hey, I played with this the first day it came out is just a cool experience. So basically what you're seeing is some of the ones that I favorited, and my son basically did all these prompts, right? So we watched the very brief, just sort of tutorial video together, and I just basically gave him the keyboard and said, go. So what you can see is like basically prompting is very similar to, what you might do with the ChatGPT or the Midjourneys of the world. There's a few options around, vertical, square, horizontal video. I'm doing the smallest resolution, but you can get bigger if you want. And because I have the more expensive plan, basically I upgraded to the $200 per month plan just for this. I can go up to 20 seconds. I believe the $20 a month plan can do 5 seconds. And then you can do a couple of variations or 4 variations for each one. So for example, when I generated this one, you can see it gave me 2 different variations on that first generation. And then let's see, other cool stuff, basically all of these that I favorited came out, I think, really good. If you go through kind of the outtakes, right, you can see we did some snowboarding Santa stuff today, which actually came out really good. But the first iteration of it, much more kind of cartoony and not as high quality. And then like, here's another example. So I was taking requests and my brother asked me for El Capitan in a store at Yosemite. So this one came out pretty good, right? Like very sort of realistic. And then we tried adding something else to the frame, right? And we said a toucan at Yosemite, right? And now this looks like very weird. Like obviously like the elements are not, meshing together. It looks like a sort of a static background with something just like pasted in front of it. So what we found is that, basically multiple elements in a scene can cause issues, right? This was supposed to be a Mobius strip in space. That one kind of came out weird. But then there's also like, you can do cartoony stuff, right? They even have presets for these. And these were intentionally like in these different cartoon styles. And here's another example of a few that like came out kind of like wrong. Like this one was supposed to be photorealistic, but it ended up almost looking like a dinosaur toy with like a weird background. A lot of these are beautiful, right? Oh, and here's another one. There were just too many elements in this prompt, right? And it was like corgi, dragon, Rio de Janeiro, right? So you can kind of see like, sometimes it just reverts to these like very like static backgrounds when it's not able to really answer your prompt effectively. But that being said, overall, it is an incredibly powerful thing, even for $200. If, and for $20, it's like mind blowing, right? So, okay, so let's look at a few of the ones we favorited. This is one of the first ones that my son did, and this is just literally like, I'm like, hey, use your imagination, and he's like, okay, I want to see bioluminescent fish, with a purple hue or something. And then we said, make it like shark-like or like there's a shark attack or something. And you end up getting pretty cool stuff, right? And as you can see, it's really good at nature, right? Like this looks like a real thing. And this is his prompt, and here's another one that was a different variation of the same prompt. And then another one, he was getting really into changing the colors of animals, which I think actually was a really nice sort of thing for testing out because the model is obviously just really good at animals. And then it can do things like change, the color of the lizard and stuff like that. This one was supposed to be a bear that camouflaged into the forest, which I think also, came out pretty well in terms of like green bear. And then the other thing you can see here is we did it in a loop. So you can loop a video. If you like your first version, you can kind of do these like loop, blend, remix things. And this was an attempt. It looks a little weird when it loops because it like changes the body orientation, but basically you can use AI to loop videos together. This was a fun one, more cartoony. Basically, this is a corgi taco police chase that my son created. And, I love the sort of like what's coming out of his brain just as a result of playing with this. There's also a balloon mode, and this is an example of that. Basically, he was just like, make weird things happen in balloon mode, and it did that. And then the last thing is like the people, like really impressive, right? One of the cool things about this is like, not only is this hyper photorealistic, which is great, but it also did a nice job of updating that prompt. And here's a different one with a person. And it didn't reject the prompt. It didn't say like, no, you're violating our terms of service by like trying to get a dog to bite a man, right? Instead, what it did was it just gave something that was within the realm of reason, but like within the terms of service, right? So, the red teaming or guardrail building seems like it has worked well. Here's another dancing man, which I think actually, came out great. Like you could easily see this being used as like stock footage, for example. There's our lizard again, a bird, just really, really cool, right? And then, if you think about like, you could easily put together like a AI nature documentary with this. You could easily use it for B-roll footage and ads like, the guy or the kid eating popcorn or whatever, right? These are like instantaneous, beautiful B-roll. And I think nature stuff, obviously, same thing. You could use it for almost anything. So just really amazing, fun to play with. As I mentioned, I love the idea of like, I think this is so much more engaging for somebody who is a like tech and AI beginner and somebody who has that kind of like creative or artistic mindset. And I think a lot of kids do. And it's a really fun thing to sort of play with them. But, we've seen some reviews where it's like, oh, it doesn't look realistic yet. And it's like, okay, like calm down, like this is the first iteration. It's amazing. And, just imagining, where this is going to be in a couple of years is pretty epic. So get on there, try it if you, have the time and inclination and want to invest in that and, recognize that there's going to be a lot more to come over the next year plus as these models get better and cheaper and faster and all that. So enjoy and have a great rest of your day.